Yeah. There. Now we're on. Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon for you. It's good morning for me. You guys are out there in the East Coast, so it's noontime for you, right? It's
Yes.
not right.
East
Yes, it's
Coast, brother.
noon.
East Coast, yes.
Yes. There's things I love about the East Coast and things I love about the West Coast. And I love going to, I don't know if you guys know this, but I love going to Georgia. It's probably one of my favorite other states. It's a home away from home. I go there and train military, and I got black belts out there quite often. I really enjoy going out there. But you asked Emilio if you can have it live on your side. I'm not sure how that works unless you just share that link and go that way. That's a good question. I don't really know the answer to that. Oh, she's got it. She's
Bring it
up
on
there.
your phone and then share. Find Mark.
Yeah.
Find it.
Okay,
See,
let me see.
that's why you have her, bro.
I'm telling
Okay.
you. Hey,
Say,
Mark,
hey.
man,
Yeah.
we're so,
So-
blessed to be here, brother. I'm excited. I've been on many podcasts, but this is exciting, man. Hey, we're with Mark Cox, man.
I know. I was excited
Well,
about
This
coming
guy's
on.
Yeah.
a world champion.
You know, we'll talk about that, how surprising that is. But I'm going to introduce you both, and then I'll let you guys, give a little bit more insight about what you guys do, and then we'll talk about that real quick. All right, but
Yeah.
this is a husband-wife power couple for sure. They do life together, and Daniela and Emilio. Well, I've gotten to know them now, being part of their network as they help me kind of navigate through writing a book. And so, with no further ado, I'm looking forward to this hour. This is going to be fun. We're going to get some questions answered for sure. All right. So, with no further ado, if you guys want to each take a couple seconds here and tell everybody what you do.
Thank you. Evan.
So,
Sure.
Miss
Hi.
Daniela,
And thank
go
you,
ahead.
Mark. Thank
Uh-huh.
you for having us on here. It's an honor to be here. And yeah, like Mark said, we only got to know each other, I think, in the last couple months. And Mark, we're so excited for him. He's doing his book. And that is through the Co-Author Network, which is what my husband and Emilio and I do. We help people share their story with the world, whether it's in anthologies or their authority book. We've done Spiritual Fitness Survivor book series where we had, first book, 26 co-authors, second, 29, third, 22 co-authors sharing their stories of survival. And they all went bestseller on Amazon. And what it does is what we call, sharing your story, having your own book or even an anthology. It's a business card. It is your business card for what you do and to, get your story out there. For me, getting my story out there was to help other people, that are in the same situations that I was. My background real quickly is with domestic violence. So, sharing my story and encouraging other women to do the same was my mission. And now I have, Behind Closed Doors, which I launched in January, went bestseller, which has women who have overcome domestic violence. So pretty much, like I said, the Co-Author Network helps people share their story with the world. And now I'm on my own mission with women for domestic violence.
That's awesome. Go ahead, Emilio.
Hey, you know what? Thank you very much again, Mark, for having us. I'll give you the Reader's Digest version because Daniela just shared exactly what we do. So I'm with my beautiful and supportive wife. We have a show Tuesday and Thursdays called the Co-Author Network Show. It's 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Mark Cox has been on the show. And when Mark came on, it was awesome. We got a lot of great feedback from Mark. People who had introduced us, a gentleman named Jose Escobar. That's how the touch points happen. And again, it's been great. So, I mean, I love what we do, helping others, authors, and especially entrepreneurs level up. And I'll have to say, I'm a United States Marine Corps veteran, URAF, my
That's
vets.
right.
And
That's
I know
right.
Mark and I get along because he loves to work with veterans and he has worked with
Yeah.
veterans. So I salute you, brother.
Yeah, we definitely have. Yeah, we definitely have. Unfortunately, I was with the police department for a while, but unfortunately, I never served. It's my biggest regret. Jose just popped on, and it was my biggest regret as a kid. I don't know. People may not know this about me, but when I was 18, I wanted to be a Coast Guard because I wanted to bust pot boats. I was in. I don't know. I always had this cop thing in me, right? But I was at the pier and I watched the Coast Guards coming in, and they got these pot leaves all over their ship. And I went over to one of the guys. I said, "What's that mean?" He goes, "That's how every time we bust somebody, we spray paint a pot leaf on the boat." I said, "Man, I want to do that." Okay, I'll never forget it, right? But that Coast Guard, it was a little bit more than going in the Army or something like that. That back then you can go to the Army for 2 years and get all the benefits, right? But
Right.
I wanted that Coast Guard, and then so I took the test. And I didn't rank super high on it, and then the physical fitness side was even more stringent. Okay, and the Marines in the Army are like, "Come on in, man. We'll get you. We got you." But I couldn't get it. So it just kind of took the whole it out of me, and I just didn't get enough direction in to do it. But I got a good influence now with my expertise now to the military. So it's been a good thing. So
Yeah, man.
it's been great. So we met. So I want to tell everybody here. Well, first thing, Danielle, will you talk about your book real quick? I'm using your book now. We have a women's self-defense class coming up. I do these about quarterly, and I've got to speak to my brother, who's been a police officer. He was a pastor, and for many years at a church here in where I'm at, and then he has just become the CEO of Zoe International, which is human trafficking. Okay. And my brother helps with extractions and building a homing. This is a Christian organization, and they've built something here in California. My brother's kind of the head of that, right? So he still does vice work with LAPD with human trafficking and stuff like that. But this is what he does. Now, the last time I went and talked to him, there's mostly women in here that works the homes, right? You don't really have men that are involving in the women coming out of trafficking, and they're going and getting these women. And I am telling you, Daniela, it's always an experience that females, when I teach them, I have to be very, I have to be, they're there to try and be empowered. At the same time, they've got so much trauma going on and tears streaming down their face when they're trying to hit. Or if you get on top of them a little bit and you're kind of breathing heavy and they just clam up and they can't get out of that zone. And it's hard, right? It's hard for a man to, I always have females in there to help facilitate. But now I got this book and somebody that I know personally that says, "Hey, you want to get out? You want to break out?" And so I'm using that just so you know, your book on April 30th. I just ordered it, as a matter of fact. And so it'll be something that I'll be able to pass on, and I'll probably have another, like a small thing with just you. So women have another woman to look at and say, "Hey, you can be empowered." I can't tell you, I've had women laying on their head on my shoulders, weeping that they can't get past and then to do violence on somebody is a whole nother level. For a female, they have to get out of their comfort zone and go and end up defending themselves out of a situation. And then all the trauma that comes, it is a brutal thing every time I do a women's self-defense class. So, so I thought that, this is what your book is about, correct? That you started. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you for that, Mark. I didn't realize that you're going to use that, and and I would have sent you a signed copy. I didn't know that you ordered the book online, but I can still do that for you. But thank you. And yeah, that is what it is. It's to let women know that they don't have to stay stuck in these kind of situations for years, like I did, or a lot of the women in this book did. We want to reach younger women, especially because I was just speaking to a woman the other day, and we agreed that 14, 15, 16 years old, they're in these relationships already, and they think it's love, and they think, they don't know any better. And reaching the younger women now will prevent having women like me who was 19 and 20 and stayed in for, years suffering. So to reach that age group is my mission, but also the women. And it's funny you had said that what your brother does, because when you get the book, you're going to read chapter 1. Jennifer Vega, who has chapter 1, she was involved in human trafficking. She has an amazing story. So there's a great story for you right there, right off the bat, about that. And that's and I'm coming up with something that's going to be coming out soon to help women even further that are in these situations.
Yeah, see, that's awesome. I've been. Yeah, I got to be able to share that with you. See, if we were closer together, we would be working out together and doing the 75 hard thing together for sure. But that's I got that same freaking water bottle. I'd like to take that water bottle sometimes and throw it right across the friggin' room. I wish we could fill it up with coffee, but that's just not if there was a gallon of coffee I can down all day.
Before, yeah.
It would be it would be no problem. So. So Emilio, tell me. So let's talk about your. We'll talk about your show first, right? So I got. You guys had me on
Yeah.
And I had a very productive day that day because I had got up at 4 a.m. to do that show. And
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, well, I want to see what it's like to be Jocko for a day. Because Jocko, I don't know if you know him. Have you ever listened to Jocko stuff? The Navy
No,
SEAL? Jocko? Oh, you ever
no.
listened to Jocko Willink?
You
Oh,
know what?
you're
I got
missing
so many
out.
books. I got so many books, but you're saying I got to get on that then.
Oh, you Jocko Willink is just his podcast and
Yeah.
what he is, and he's right up your alley. He's a combat Navy SEAL.
Okay.
Okay. And Jocko Willink is, and he's a big Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, but his his book, Extreme Ownership, has
Oh,
completely changed me.
I got that book. I have the book.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
gonna tell you something like
Okay. I haven't dived into it yet, but you're saying okay.
yes, if you have not now here's the thing about Extreme Ownership. When you read it,
Yeah.
you'll read it, then you gotta listen to it. Because Jocko
Mm,
and his partner are the ones that do it, and they're
yes.
voicing and their stories of their military.
Right.
Oh man, it's yeah. Jocko's he's a big thing. I'm like, look at Jose talking shit. Uh,
So like,
I'll be
so,
like
Yeah.
Jose Escobar for a day. I'm up at 4 a.m. to win.
uh,
This is,
you know what, Mark? So that thank you for I picked up the book. I got it. It's one of those things I'm going to read. I believe that they now take that leadership that they've learned in combat
that's
and they help
correct.
entrepreneurs and corporations with that with their storyline. I think that's it, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. If you have the book and you haven't, it's
I
a
have
great
it.
75 hard book. You'll get it. But one thing you'll want to do, I promise you, you're going to read it,
Yeah.
but then when you listen to it, it's got a whole different meaning when you listen to the guys do it. Him and Leaf, his combat buddy, are
Yeah.
just phenomenal in that. So your TV show. Let's talk about how long has that been around,
Yeah.
and what made you decide to host that?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. Again, man, we're just honor and blessed to be here with you. I love the way you're running your podcast and everything you're doing. And so Danielle and I, we have this idea. I've been interviewing people throughout my life for many, many years, just in different things and capacities that I work for. So before I get there, I've done over 1,200 interviews in my lifetime on radio, CNN. Not because I have this magic voice, but because of the people that I work for. They wanted a high energy person, and so
Uh-huh.
so I was on radio and did some of that, and then I said Facebook. This whole Facebook experience came out. I was doing Facebook when it was just me and like I'm building it up, and I had nobody showed up. It was just me and hey guys, come listen to me. Nothing. Then the opportunity came up, and so now I get to the point where I did 3 years of Facebook, and I called it a glorified Facebook. Then I started getting some traction when I came out in the Guinness Book of World Records for being one of the most authors signing a book. That little thing got me. Now people started coming on the Facebook Live. Then I discovered this whole live streaming thing, which now we have over 12 to, depending on the month, 15,000 viewerships via the E360 platform where we stream on Roku and everything else. And we've been doing that successfully for about 13 months now.
13 months. So it's relatively only a year or so in that you guys have decided to do that. And so I see it that it goes out on Roku TV and stuff like that. Now you guys this, right, Danielle? You guys both work this together. This is something that you guys co-host and share to get, to you have guests come on. And what is it focused for? So, is it when you highlight, like when you had me come on, and it was good because we get to get in front of a lot of people that you have made your network on. So it's awesome for us to do. Is it more of a networking thing, or is it just something you had this idea, you're going to go with it? How did you two come up with that?
Yeah, so how it started, we would have, guests that like you said, through our network, just highlighting what they do. And then we had to get a little more focused. So we now work exclusively with authors. So we like to highlight authors, entrepreneurs, like yourself. So yeah, that's mainly what our focus is now is we'll highlight authors and not just authors that we work with. We highlight authors in general, just to we have their book, we'll show their book. I mean, we have people that come on that just from being on for 20 minutes, they sell out of their books. Like the one lady, she's part of our network. She's like, I only have so many copies right here of my book, whatever. She told us later that morning, she's like, I sold them out, you know. So we just love like loving on people and highlighting our authors. So that's mainly what who we, highlight on our show.
So you've taken your co-author, right, Emilio? You've done this co-author thing, and then this is kind of your platform now to help launch. Right. Is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah. So if you don't mind, just to kind of add some more to what Daniela was saying. So we started doing the interviews on Facebook. Then we ended up highlighting, because we were doing, if you know my personality, I could be all over the place, right? So we were doing spiritual fitness. We were doing fitness. We were doing everything. And then Daniela said we had to finally grab a niche. And we said, you know what? Authors need to be represented better, because we've had some really bad experiences, Mark, with spending money on people to write our books, right? And then we're like, wait. And then it just kind of came to us, and we started experimenting with it. And we've got a lot of attention from entrepreneurs like yourself who A, wrote a book, or B, wanted to write a book. And so all of a sudden we started to work with them, and we just fell in love with it because it was totally new to us, right? It's not like I have a degree in health and exercise science. I'm a former U.S. Marine. Well, we're not former. I'm a Marine, right? So
right. Yeah, man. I was a Marine. I was a Marine.
So like I love fitness, but this was a whole new challenge for me.
Yeah. So, well, it was fun. It was definitely fun being on there, and then I got some good feedback on that. People get to kind of know you. They may know a little bit about you, but when you're like kind of interviewed a little bit, and then all of a sudden these little nuggets come out about life and the book thing. Even this podcast, so I think I've shared this with you guys before. I wanted to have a legacy to leave with my kids. So when I'm gone, they can go back. Hey, Dad did this, or listen to this podcast Dad did, and it's there forever, right? And that's really kind of what it started as. And then I really enjoyed it. I really, I enjoy getting into other people's lives like this. And I don't know about you two. You guys tell me how you guys are, because Emilio, he's already super animated, right? He's all over the place, right? And you know how Jose is, right? He's a little more low key, right? As a matter of fact, he's come out of his shell a little bit more the more he's done this kind of stuff. When I first did an interview with him, he was a little bit more low key, and his voice is a little bit lower this way. And good morning, you guys are, and then you can't tell if he's joking or not, right? And so this is and he was a great personality, right? He did good, but he's a master at networking, right? So this is
absolutely
right. So so Emilio, so you're all super animated and stuff like that, and so is this a yin and yang thing that you guys have? Are you both kind of high energy that way when you guys are working together?
That's a great. I think you started something, Mark. But we're gonna tell you the truth right here in the Mark Cox podcast. We're gonna break it down. Go ahead, baby. You started.
Okay.
Mark, we fight. Yeah, okay, we fight before every show. But go ahead.
Not every show. Stop exaggerating. Yeah, every other show. Oh my God. No, you know what? If you don't mind, like a little backstory with Emilio and I. We went to high school together many years ago. Graduated in 1989, and went our separate ways, right? We just, didn't really even communicate that much, even in school. Like we were in one class together or whatever, but little secret, like I had a crush on him all through high school, and he never knew it. But anyway, fast forward 28 years later, he led his life, I led mine. And then what do you think brought us together? Social media. And we reconnected and had a conversation. And like they say, the rest is history. Like I had shared with him, oh, well, I had liked you in high school. He's like, why didn't you tell me that? We could have had 5 grandbabies by now. And I'm like, yeah. That is
how these guys are, right?
Yeah. So, but meeting him, I have to tell you, I was married previously and like 22 years in a relationship, and complete opposite. I meet Emilio, and I remember him in high school being, always smiling and talking and all. But like I said, we didn't really hang out or anything. So I wasn't really aware of, really how he was. And complete opposite of what I'm used to. Yeah, like I'm more calm and, like laid back, and I like to like observe things. I'm not impulsive, you know. And then here's Emilio like, "Yeah, let's do this, let's do that. Okay, oh my god, no, no, let's go." And I'm like, "Oh my god, what the?" You know, I'm like, but it's great. Like, obviously, you know, I'm with him if I didn't like him, you know. But it was, you know, an adjustment for me. But yeah, like you say, the yin and yang, people say that all the time. Like, we balance each other out because, you know, you can't, like, if I was like him, like one of us be dead for sure. Like, we
Yeah.
kill, somebody's going to kill somebody, you know. So, but yeah, we balance each other out, you know. And sometimes, you know, his personality is very strong, you know, and I'm a woman, and I'm, you know, we're emotional and whatever, and I can be take his energy, I guess, as like aggressiveness sometimes, or you know, like take offense. Like, why are you yelling at me? It's like, I'm not yelling. This is just the way I talk. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
okay, that's not yelling. Okay, so
it's a good. Amelia, tell me that's not a good question from a female. Why are you yelling at me? Why is that yelling? I don't. You want me to yell? I'm gonna yell, but why am I yelling? You yell all the time, and that's my favorite one, right? All the time, right? So, you,
yeah,
so
but
you
he
know, Mark.
talks yelling.
So you know, Mark, right? So thank you, babe. I mean, and so just to add to what she's saying, if you don't mind, unless so what happens is because of my energy, just the way she said it, and we're married. So there's this line that I cross all the time, Mark. Like she's my wife. I love her, supportive, and she's my business partner. So like where do I stop? I'm like, hey babe, listen, I need this shit now. I need it now. And she's
Well, you
like,
get it.
why are you yelling at me? I said, babe, I'm not yelling. I'm just saying we got a deadline on this shit. Right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like sometimes she'll get it, but the majority of the time, Mark, she'll stop, give me this, like the Hawaiians call it the stink eye. She'll give me like the stink eye, and I don't know, or the Italians call it the Mallorca. What do you call it?
Maloik.
But man, this is the Roman household,
this.
and you want
Why
to
my
be.
I'm laughing because it's in every household. Just so you know, okay.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, I could give you 100 stories, including myself. So, believe it or not, I'm super like if I'm on air here or I'm in my element where I'm on the mat or you put me in front of a group of people, I'll be that. But on the same token, I'm not. I think Emilio can walk the crowd and be, you know, the center of attention. When I'm in that, after I'm done talking or whatever I'm doing or teaching and stuff, I kind of like to just kind of lay back and stuff. So I'm I guess what you call an outrovert introvert. You know what I mean? It's really kind of like what I am. And I won't be walking around with like Emilio, like bouncing off the walls. I can tell you that. And so, but if I'm breaking bricks or I'm talking to people or I'm teaching something, I am definitely in another planet. So I've watched you guys when you guys come together on the show, and I was dying to ask this question because I already knew the answer to the question of what that looks like, right? Because, but here's the thing, right? Still together, doing business, living in the same house, and then wham, here comes 75 hard.
Oh God.
And I knew, okay, so when this
Mark is loving this.
this is awesome, right? This is so you know, I'm telling you, I've got the other Marine. I know he's listening right now too, right, with his wife and stuff, and they are cracking up because they have got the same exact household, okay? And so I said, so we get to 75 hard. I remember when Jose first did it, right? Because I did this a couple years ago when I first did it. And my first go around, I made it out. Man, I got a big tattoo on my back that says 75 hard. The second time I did it, I put a tattoo on myself, right? And so, and then Jose did it, and then he launched this little kind of this group, right? 75 hard, right? It seems kind of easy when you kind of first look at it, right? 5 things. Doesn't seem that difficult. How hard can it be? And then I failed twice, too. I failed once because I fell asleep reading a book, and I didn't finish my 10 pages. Right? I'm in bed. I wake up the next morning, and my book's next to me, and I'm like, oh, man, are you kidding me? Something like day 37, and I'm like, oh. And so I changed, right? I've changed habits every time I've done it, you know. Before, it was the water on the first go around, but I learned that before I leave the house, I'm close to a liter of water before I leave the house. I wake up to 16 ounces of water every day now. That's how I start my day. Before coffee, before anything, 16 ounces of water. I know that I have started that water intake because I hate the water intake, just so you know.
Right.
And then reading the books, and once I did the Bible, so I did Proverbs is what I kind of focused in on my
Right.
reading. And then taking the picture every day, diet. And I'm not sure you guys know. You guys probably seen some past pictures of me, but I have lost probably. I'm in the realm of 117 pounds, maybe total loss. So weight loss so far,
Oh, kudos.
and you can see some of those pictures of me because I had a health scare, and then so I did the 75 hard. Now I don't know. Now you guys have been in it, right? So everybody's gung ho for you, right? Everybody's the first week. Everybody's like, "Yeah, we got you." About day 14, people are like, "Oh, you still doing that?"
Who
Right? This
cares?
is what happens, right? They don't care nothing about what we're doing anymore. Now it's kind of in. Then day 20 starts hitting, and you got people that have fallen out now. Then day 50 hits, and absolutely nobody cares about what you're doing. Okay. This is you and you. Okay. You're either doing this to make a difference for yourself or you're not. So, first of all, did we're going to talk about you tapping out, Emilio, in just a second, but we're going to talk about did you guys start it because Jose had a group, or when you first started, you say, okay, this is the trend. I'm just going to kind of jump on the bandwagon. Did you have a real why or did you not?
Actually, I started it. Um, I mean, I suggested doing it. I saw Jose, and then I really like. I was watching Jose for a while, and I'm just like. Then finally, I'm like, well, let me ask him what this is all about. So I private message and I said, Jose, what is is this for women? That's what I asked him because I was like, is this just for men? And he's like, no, you could, women can do it. And then he gave me the whole breakdown of it, and I said, he goes, so you in? Jose. He was like, that second I asked, hey, I'm just asking a question, you know. So,
Mhm.
so then it only took me like a couple of days, and I said, you know what? Because I've always been into fitness. I eat healthy. I don't drink alcohol. I'm like, you know what? Half of that stuff I already do. I mean, I wasn't doing two 45-minute workouts a day, but so I'm like, you know what? I'm in. I need to be more disciplined because I would work out like, when the mood struck me, or I wasn't regimented. So I'm like, this is what I need right now. So it was a godsend, really. I was like, you go to gym when you feel like it, you do whatever. So this is like something I was like, I'm going to commit to it. So I did. I was like, I told Emilio, I said, I'm doing a Jose 75 hard. I'm just going to jump on it. And then he thought about it a couple of days. It took him a few days. And then he was like, all right, I'm in. And I'm like, all right. I said, whether you're in or not, I'm in. Like, I'm doing this. So that's why. And I did it. Like I said, I needed the discipline and the commitment and the mental toughness, like the book, you know, explains in the book. I read the whole book already, and I loved it. So yeah, that's my why.
Yeah, well, people think it's a physical fitness thing. It's not.
No.
So, Emilio, so I'm listening to you. Did you take a couple days and go, okay, I'm committed to doing this, or I'm doing it because my wife's doing it. She ain't doing something I'm doing.
Right. So Daniela just quickly threw me like, oh, he said I'm in. Oh, hell no, that's not how it works.
I said it took a few days. Yeah.
So, but she was, being really enticing. Hey, babe, I'm doing 75 hard. Hope you do it. And then I'm like, yeah, good luck with that. I'm doing some other stuff. And she kept bringing it in and sneaking it up. And I looked at it. I was like, oh, hell no. 75 days without liquor. And she and I already have issues about me drinking anyway.
Yeah,
So
you think?
so I'm thinking that's her hidden agenda, right, Mark? She's like, yeah, you don't stop drinking for 75 days. I'm good. So, so the Reader's Digest version is that I started looking at, of course, Jose being the consummate leader, and I started looking into it. I'm like, wow, I mean, I work out already, but not to the degree that he was working out, and I certainly wasn't disciplined with the nutrition, even though Daniela makes great food. So I was like, so I did it because I saw what was going on, but mainly my wife, right? So we're gonna come back to that if you give me a chance. But I did it because my wife. I figured happy wife, happy life, and I had nothing to lose.
So I saw when you guys jumped on, and I was like, I knew when I did it. A couple people joined me because um, just because I'm doing it, and they saw me succeed with it, right? And then I had a couple people jump on with me, and we had a good successful run with some people underneath me, right through the school. And then, what's weird for me after 75 hard. Well, here's the thing: I don't drink hardly at all anyway, right? So, but then when I gave up I haven't had a drink ever since I did it almost 3 years ago anyway.
Oh,
I
wow.
haven't even had one. Not, it's just something that's gone to the wayside. I live the keto lifestyle anyway. That's how I am. I'm in ketosis. I check my ketones on a daily. So, and you can't cheat on ketosis. Either you're in or you're not. And if you're eating too many carbs, you're not in ketosis. And I check that blood wise every day.
Wow.
And so I could deal with those two things. And the double workouts I really like, but I'm going to tell you, as I've gotten older, I'm kind of an older dude now. So, and I push, man, I push heavy weights. And for 61, I'm still a pretty strong dude. You know what I mean? And then I grapple with these kids that are half my age for indoor workouts. And I am sore every friggin' day on 75 hard. I know everybody sees the Facebook lifestyle, and they'll see me in my outdoors in my weight room outside, and I'm pushing it, and I'm trying to push. A lot of times I go live to push everybody else is to push myself, just so you know, right? I'm like, okay, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to put myself on video here. I'm going to put myself on blast because I almost gave in that's one day I was super sick. My head was so pounding. I couldn't even walk around the block. It hurt so bad. So I went in the gym and I did the most wussy ass workout I've ever done in my life, right? a shoulder workout with 10-pound weights and this and just trying to get through the agony of my head pounding. And so I did all that. But here's what I learned. You guys can tell me what you learned. I want to talk about what happened with you on that is I have got so fed up with people's excuses after I did 75 hard. I just don't want to hear it anymore because people will, you're either going to do it or you're not. You know what I mean? And shut up and either have some ownership in it and say what it is. Okay? I bitched out. I ain't doing it. That's right. I have more respect for you when you're like that. You're like, hey, listen, I don't care, man. The biggest things I like to take from it, because you guys got that snow, I've always wanted to do 75 hard in that weather because you're out doing something that the majority of people are not doing. So I did it in the heat of Georgia's heat, but it's not the same as the snow. I'd rather work out in the heat anyway. I can get the humidity and all that. I liked all that. So, but this is where I came up with everybody making excuses. I just don't want to hear it. That's probably why you guys saw when I did my own cover and stuff like that. I wasn't really clear on what the instructions were. So I'm like, hell with it. I'll just do it myself. And so that's what I did. And then we're in this group together. And Emilio one day puts up there, I tap out. Just like that. It's not like nothing. It's just like, I'm up. I'm done. I'm like, man, we don't tap out, bro. You snap my freaking arm before I tap out. What are you talking about? Tap out, right? I was like, tap out? What? And I said to myself, he got in an argument with his wife.
Oh.
I knew it. I said, they're doing this thing in the household together. Something has come up, and he's just like, yeah, you do it then. Whatever. Okay. I knew it in my heart. I said, I know that's what he did. He let his bitch voice get out because he's got all mad at his wife. You mark my words. And sure enough, is that what happened, Emilio?
Hey, man, you called it spot on, man. That was spot on. And again, that's why I prefaced it by saying, good luck with that. When she first got all excited about it. But then I knew that I needed it, because it just, but you're right. And that's anybody out there watching this, you're working with your wife, your spouse, your significant other. You know how challenging it can be. You obviously love each other, but when you've got to work with each other on a professional level all day, and then now to add on 75 hard, man, you got to either be loving each other till death do us apart, or you got to be crazy. But yeah, man. So
I knew that. I knew that going in, and I remember calling Jose about it, and I'm like, "What the heck, man?" And and I tell everybody that says that, anybody that does it, I said, "There's I'm going to give you one sentence, and you listen to me well. If you're going to do 75 hard, put your goal ahead of your mood, because
I
if
like
you
that.
don't,
Write that
if
down.
that is not in your mindset, you are going to lose this game, this mind game that you're going through. So you have to put your goal ahead of your mood, and if you
Mhm.
don't, you're going to lose. And every time that you
Oh,
feel you want to not do it, it's so easy to not do things.
Oh yeah.
It's so hard to follow through,
I appreciate
and
that.
so this is some of the changing that happened. And so when I knew that you guys were doing it together, because we have people doing it together here, and
Mm.
I mean, it is a shit talk machine over here when everybody here is doing it in the studio.
Yeah.
Oh, are you wimping? You couldn't quit here, because if you do, you'd be so bow-breeded into quitting. You would
Mhm.
be just a loser, right? Uh, and so we. This is why this show is called Real Talk, because this is behind the scene,
That's
not
right.
Facebook, Instagram life. Okay,
Amen, Mark.
I know what this entails. I know working together what it entails, and I know what it entails to be an entrepreneur. It is a day-to-day grind. And that young kid that you guys are working with, Geo,
Yeah.
Joe.
you know, he's a young buck, right? He's a young dude.
Mm-hmm.
I've thought about reaching out to him, because I can see he suffers a little bit from because he's youth. His I
Yes.
see that the pressure has kind of come on him. He hasn't been screwed over enough in life to not give a rat's ass about nothing. You know what I mean? That's why old men and old women are like, I don't care what you have to say. You're not going to rile me. You know what I mean? And so I feel for him. I saw him a little bit on there, and I'm like, man, I like that kid. And I said, he's just a young buck, and he'll learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll learn. He's going to learn quick, boy. I'll tell
Yeah.
you, getting thrown into that world. So Daniela, now, did you, be honest now, make him feel guilty after he tapped out? Because I know he got a lot of grief for doing that. I know he did, because I'm like, mm-mm. Don't get out here saying I'm Marine, gung ho, boho, and then you tap out, because that ain't going to be flying. It's not like I'm sick, and or anything like that. That's not what it was. So, how did you deal with that after you did it? Did you?
Honestly, Mark, no, I'm not like that. That sounds like something somebody, but I'm not like that. Like I don't make people feel bad for doing, or not doing something. I didn't throw it in his face. I didn't say anything. I'm the type I will sit back and let somebody do what they need to do until they realize what they need to do. You know what I mean? Or what's best for them. Like I'm not that type of like you better do this. I didn't even like I said when I first started, I said I'm doing it. Whether you do it or not, that's up to you. And I'm also the type like you said. I like that comment. Put your goal ahead of your mood, and that's pretty much how I live my life. You know what I mean? I don't let things affect me. Like I was in the same argument, but I didn't. And I'm not trying to say like, yeah, I didn't tap out. You know what I mean? But because I won't, I will not. And that's not to make him feel bad, but it's just, I have a different kind of way I think, and I grew up with my dad is like no excuses. My dad is a no excuses type of guy. I don't care what, So I don't let what's going on, like, in my personal everywhere affect, like, what I got to do is what I got to do, whether it's business, whether it's family, So, no, I didn't make him feel bad. I just sat back and I was like, okay, he's either going to come back or he's not. And that's up to
That's
him.
okay, Danielle. We made him feel real bad.
I know you. Well, see, you guys did
Right?
it for
So
me.
we gave zero F's about making him feel bad. I can tell
I,
you that. And so what happened? So Emilio, tell me your mindset after that went down. What happened there?
Sure.
Okay.
No, thanks, Mark. So yeah, so exactly the way that Danielle described it, right? So she is more reserved, and she's like, she gave me that look. I can tell it was that look of disappointment, right? She looked at
Right.
me,
Mm-hmm.
but again, because somehow I don't even, how these things work. You don't even know who or what created the argument. I just know I was in an argument, and all of a sudden, I was like, look, I'm dealing with this shit. I'm dealing with this. I said, I'm out. Right. So my personality is such that I wear my heart on my sleeve. And this is where Daniela comes in, and she's really smart at doing this. She knows me well enough that if she just gives me enough room to hang myself, she'll know. She knows I recognize the follies of my ways. So she kind of gave me the silent treatment and let me stew in my own ish. And then of course, immediately I got the call from Jose and giving me the whole leadership talk. Like, hey man, people are watching you. You know what's going on. And I told him, I said, look, I'll be honest with you. I said, I didn't want to do this to begin with. I did it. And I'm being honest, exactly what I told him. I said, look, I think it was selfish of me, but I did it because I want to piss my wife off because she pissed me off. And it was just a real talk on your show.
That's right.
Real conversation. And then Jose brought it back home. And then I told Jose, I said, look, I don't feel good about it. I said, obviously, it's my wife. I love her. But I don't know what I was thinking. I said, but I just thought by just saying publicly I'm tapping out, I was pissing her off, but I made myself look like an ass.
Didn't piss me off.
That's real talk.
Didn't spite
That's
me.
it. That's listen. And listen, the reason I bring it up too, first of all, the reason I bring it up to you, because I know that you have enough extreme ownership to share it. Because believe it or not, everybody's listening to this or will listen to it, okay? They're going to go, I know exactly how that feels. I have been down that road, so I guess I'm not the only one that have been down these roads. However that looks in working together as a business or this, because if you can't laugh about it, you can't, you know what I mean? You can't. You're not going to. It is what it is. And so, and it's funny because I raised my kids. I'm a single dad. I don't know if you guys knew that about me, but I was a single dad that raised my kids, right? And I had 4 kids, and I had one adopted kid that is now older in Idaho, right, with the martial arts school. And so, and I raised them all. And it's not till later in life that, as you have adult kids, you realize the sacrifice that it is. And it still sucks today, on certain things that happen. But when real life hits you and you have a Facebook life and Instagram life and a TikTok life, you don't have real life. And then people don't talk about it, right? They just like, I could be in the gym like this, right? And then 2 minutes later, I could be wanting to kill somebody for speeding down the street. You know what I mean? And then exercising my self-control like I need to. So that's just some real stuff that, 75 Hard brings that out in you too, okay? Because you're frustrated and you don't want to follow something and maybe you didn't have the commitment you have. But isn't that life in it, whatever we do, correct, on how we do it?
Mark,
And
yeah,
so-
thank you for
How
that.
you
Mark.
do one
Mind.
thing is how you do everything.
Yeah, Mark, and you said something. Thank you for sharing that, Mark. Danielle and I, could you just share what happened? We were having coffee. We went for a walk, 75 Hard. We were doing our second workout. We went to the Starbucks and some local teenagers with their bikes. And what happened?
Yeah, we were sitting there out front of Starbucks the other night and finished our workout and having tea. And these kids, there's like this whole gang of young kids that ride their bikes in this area, in that particular area, and they just all came at one time, like 4 or 5 of them, and threw their bikes down like in the middle of the sidewalk, blocked everything where like people that would be walking can walk. So right away, Emilio, of course, was like, "Hey, are you serious? Are you really going to leave your bikes there?" And nobody, and these are like 13, 14, 15-year-old kids, right? But it was rude what they did, But he started yelling at them, and then right away they did move it, like they moved the bikes right away, and the kid was like, "Sorry," But yeah, you can, I don't know. What was your point here? That you
So the point was, like Mark was saying, that you're coming out the gym, you're kind of centered, and then you see somebody down the street, and you get fired up, right?
Yeah, you do. Mm-hmm.
So here we were having coffee, and we're talking about what's going on. And Daniela, while she said they were teens, they were the same kids that were up and down yelling F words to some people 2 minutes later. Like they were talking, and then they came in, and it was just like, I didn't understand it. They literally came in and threw their bikes on the ground. They were walking to Starbucks, and then I started to say, "Are you effing kidding me right now? like, are you kidding me? You're gonna leave it there?" And then they looked at me. The one guy almost wanted to come up to me, and then they turned around, picked their bikes up, and moved them right where they should have. And then the one guy said, "Sorry, sir." I said, and then so I went from that guy. I said, "Thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it." You know what I mean? It was like me trying to be this tough dude. It was like what you're saying. You raise kids, right? And somebody had to tell them right from wrong. Because if you let that behavior as an adult, if you let that behavior go by, it's your responsibility, I feel, as an adult to provide some guidance and direction.
Yeah, I agree, and that's the that's the that's the mental mindset. Because I see you guys doing your thing together a little bit on 75 Hard, where you get to walk. Now, the girl I've been with now for past 20 years now, we we don't live in the same house, so we don't live together. It's probably why we lasted so long. The uh, she being able to kind of share these things with each other as you're going on and doing a walk, it's just been great, and I don't know, I've been enjoy watching that. And now the other thing now, Emilio, I want to hit on what happened to you a year ago. I did not realize until you brought it up in your memory that 1 year ago today, I mean, you were suffering to be able to breathe from COVID, and COVID really took a hit to martial arts school owners for sure, right?
Right.
And I caught the COVID thing in December, but whatever they call the Omicron, whatever it is today, Megatron, whatever. Uh, so
Whatever they
it's
want to
going to
call
be a
it.
different name in it, but it didn't really affect me that much. I was down for 3 days, and it wasn't really. I wasn't wheezing. All my kids got it too, and we were just kind of. My sickness I had last week was worse than COVID. I can tell you that. My head pounding like it was worse than COVID. Hopefully, it's not from a vaccine. I don't really know because I don't get sick. So it's
Right.
kind of an unusual thing for me anyway. So let's talk about when you got it last year, April, you had to go to the hospital and everything then. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. Thank you, Mark. Yeah. The Reader's Digest version, as I like to say, is I'm already challenged with asthma. Something happened when I was in the military where I developed what they call adult onset asthma. Like never had it as a child, but because of my travel overseas and training in the sand, the desert, apparently that's I developed it. And then it just started getting worse around the winter times, right? So around the winter times, that kind of compounded into what's the word? I always screw it up. Pneumonia,
Pneumonia. Yeah.
right? So I get those once a year. They sit me out. They literally sit me out where now I have to use the whole what you call it, baby?
The oxygen. The nebulizer.
The nebulizer, right? So I have the nebulizer. So anyway, here comes COVID. I get it, and I thought I was going through a regular annual. Oh, here's my pneumonia. That's all that was. And all of a sudden, I couldn't breathe, and I swear I felt like a fish out of water, Mark. All of a sudden, babe, you can tell them because you remember more about it because I'm still suffering, Mark, from the consequences of COVID. I have consequences from
Mm.
COVID. My memory and stuff are kind of off at times. Right? Go ahead, babe, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it started like around March 9th last year, actually. I remember it was March 9th. I came back from my parents and he was like cold symptoms and whatever. And we just thought it was that. So then like a couple of days went by, he's getting worse. And then I remember the day I was like, I'm not feeling right. So, because long story short, we had COVID at the same time. Obviously, his was worse. So anyway, took him to the VA hospital. They did chest X-ray, COVID test. They're like, yep, you have COVID. Sent him home with I think antibiotic or something. But his cough was, I mean, when I tell you, Mark, oh my God, I didn't sleep. I don't sleep well anyway, but I could not sleep. The cough was like, it would make me jump. How hard his cough was. And I'm like, oh my God, you need to go back to the hospital. And stubborn him, didn't want to go. So anyway, we were living in Atlantic City at that time, went to that hospital, he stayed, I think, 2 days, and on the oxygen, not the ventilator, they didn't do that. The oxygen, they, told him how, he needed to stay. Checked himself out third day, big mistake. Comes home
Give me a
and
holler.
only got worse. Obviously, I think it took 2 days or so. I'm like, you got to go back. Took him back, and then obviously because I had COVID, I would even with COVID times you can't go in and stay anyway. But I just had to drop him off, leave, go home, and he FaceTimed me with the ER doctor. And at this point, I mean, he was there 30 minutes. They had done chest X-rays and blood work and had him on the oxygen. They did everything, and they said number one, his lungs were black. The doctor's like, his lungs are black. And he goes, Mrs. Roman, on a scale of 1 to 10, at being at death's door, your husband is a 7 right now. And I'm like, had he
Oh
not
boy.
gone, I mean, just imagine, right? And then 10 plus days, he was in there with, he can tell you the experience of being poked and prodded and this and that. And, oh, Yeah, it was scary.
So you got through that though, but you still feel like you have effects of that today. I mean, it's pretty amazing that that was just a year ago.
Mm.
When your memory pops up and then you see, what that
Yeah,
entails. And your wife didn't get it as bad as you, then, correct?
yeah, yeah. That's true.
Right.
Yeah, you got
Yeah,
it.
no, that's a nasty thing about that virus is that you just don't know who it's going to affect and how it's going to affect. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
then is there any drawbacks from us? It's such a hot topic. Is there any drawbacks from doing the vaccine or
Mhm.
whatever? I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a hard it's a hard thing to even think about
Well,
for
with him
sure.
having asthma is what obviously intensified his COVID because any kind of breathing, underlying breathing issues, COVID is like 10x. You know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Mark,
yeah.
if you don't mind, I like to. Did they like to speak on this? Talk about the vax real quickly because I don't know how much time we have, but I don't know if you can see my scar on my face.
Mhm.
Sometimes you can see it, but babe, how was it? Was it two
That was
months
like
after?
that was July. He got out. You got out of the hospital April 1st. It was on the oxygen for a few more weeks, and then kind of getting back to normal. And then July comes, and he gets this cough real bad again, so bad, Mark. Oh my God, I was actually sleeping, and I thought I was dreaming. I'm like, did I just hear a bang? And I got up. He was face down on the floor, coughed so hard that what we found out after, what the doctor told us, was that he just no oxygen to the brain made him just pass out. So I didn't know what happened. I got up and looked back, he's doing on the floor.
Yeah,
Well, and I didn't realize they got him up, got to the bathroom. He's full of blood, his face, and I'm like, of course, took him right to the ER. They did all tests, or whatever, and it was like, I believe, like the residual, like he was still getting that from having COVID. The
Mm,
bad cough and the asthma, and then I think you break your
yeah,
nose or
yeah,
fractured your nose, and oh
mhm,
my God, it was terrible.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah. S- So did you were you vaxxed before this or not? Did it
No,
didn't even help you?
no, he
No,
wasn't vaccinated.
no,
No.
we weren't vaccinated, and we
Uh-huh.
struggle with that, Mark. Like many people, I didn't want to freaking get vaccinated
Neither did
because
I.
in the military, because of my experience with the military,
Yep.
I've
Yep.
had every vaccination in the planet.
That's correct.
Anthrax. I was done. I was like, "F this, man. You out your mind."
Mm.
And then, of course, but good. But yeah. So the short of it is, this is when I got vaccinated. It wasn't even for my own health at the time because I still have my own issues with that. Um, but it was because it affected my business because I travel and
Ah,
everywhere
yeah.
we went, there was like, you can't travel without the vaccination. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? So I got it because of that, because I had already gone through just, everybody has their opinion on it, right? But
Right. Yeah, they do.
I finally I did it and we did the one, the two. And then as we already know, now you're supposed to do like 100 more of these things.
No, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah. Well, listen, my opinion is once you had it, they were going to try and get my son to do a booster in college. Say you can't go to college class if you don't do the booster, and I said no. Luckily, that went away because
Mm,
I told my son, I said, "You're not doing a booster. There's not enough. There's not enough on this that I want you to do a booster shot.
mhm.
You did the vaccination. You've already had COVID. It's better than the vaccination anyway. Your body's already fought
Yep.
it one time. So
That's
I'm
it.
not I'm not up for it. So, and I mean that's up for debate, right? We can live and die on a vine and then lose friendships over a thing like I'm for it or I'm not for it.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of America. If you want to do it, great. If you don't, that's hey, I love you still, and that's great. If you want to do it, great. I love you still. If you want to have a gun, great. I still love you. I love you more if you have a gun. But if you don't want to have one, I still love you. Um,
Mhm.
Mic
so
drop. Mic drop.
Right.
and so we're kind of wiping down, but I want to talk about the co-author as we end out this stuff, what you guys really do to help people out and why. So we got on this. it was it's an interesting thing what Jose ended up putting together, this connected leadership thing, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys also have a subscription based
Right.
network, right?
Right.
And I don't know if this is something that came about because of COVID, or is this something you guys have had for a while, um, uh, and and navigating that, because that's a whole business in itself, right? Having
Right.
and it's not easy. Everybody thinks, oh, you have a membership based thing. I mean, you got to work your business, or the business ain't going to work. I mean, that's just the way it
Mhm.
goes. But
Right.
um, for sure. But when I got to Connected Leadership, I had told Jose, I said, I've always wanted to write a book, man. I just didn't think I could do it. You know what I mean? I'm not, I'm not I had some college, I took a GED, and I remember taking the GED out of high school because I was graduating about 1979, 1980, I think it was, is my graduation time. I ended up in a continuation school because I had my jaw broken in high school. And, that's a whole nother story. Uh, but when it was so easy. And then I took the GED, and I'm like, wow, this test is how you get out of high school. Man, I could have taken this 2 years ago and we got done with it. You know what I mean? And yeah, I guess 'cause I just bored with it. And then I tried college. I hated college. I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand the professors. And even back then, it just wasn't for me. I've always been an entrepreneur ever since I was a little kid. I'd have 7, 8 lawns that I used to mow. I'd go right down it on Tuesdays was my mowing day, and then I would go down that street. On Wednesdays is the other street, and I had, I don't know, 7, 8 clients that would pay me, and I made money as a little kid. It's at 8, 9, 10 years old, mowing everybody's lawn. And I had a paper route back when I was a kid, and I tried to sell things door to door, these air freshener things, and because you're a kid, people buy it from you because you're a kid, and so I just always did that kind of stuff. And then the book came along, and I'm like, and when I first met you, and I decided to jump on and pay the money for it, right? And I'm like, I want to do this. And I called Jose back and I asked about you again. I said, hey, I want to have a real conversation about Emilio. I said, I said, I've jumped on this thing. I want to know your opinion and to see if it aligns with what I'm doing. Because I didn't know you enough, right?
Right, sure.
And I said, what caught me and what made me go is because you're in the military. Okay. That is something that I'm like, I just don't meet very many guys in the Marine Corps that don't say and do what they say they're going to do. And then after talking to him, I said, okay, I'm going to jump on this with him. And then you kind of helped ease it. This is what this co-author network does, is if you have, you said it before, the early part of the podcast, the show is what, this is kind of your business card, and that's how you spoke to me about it. Mm-hmm. So, why don't you guys can both kind of chime in on when you got people that don't have writing experience and stuff like that, is this something that you can take them to where they need to be? Is that correct?
No, amen, Mark. And again, we're so blessed that you took us up on our offer and you trusted us enough. So we thank you. By the way, if anyone here is listening and there is an interest about reaching out to us, given the time frame we have, please make sure that you mention Mark Cox and we'll take care of you, because that's what happened with Mark. We were introduced via Jose Escobar, and anyone who comes through a friend or a mutual, we take care of you. Okay. So I just want to preface that. And now, what was the answer? The question?
Well, just kind of like how you take somebody, because it's almost like martial arts lessons. I'm going to tell you too, right? It takes a lot of courage for an adult, especially, to step into a martial arts world, to put a white belt on, and they could be the top of their field in what they do, and they have to humiliate themselves down to putting on a test, and then I have to spoon feed them and say, hey man, don't worry about this, man. You've got this, and we're going to take you baby steps, and by the time you're done, you're going to be able to choke some fool out, no problem, right? And so I think you've done the same thing with writing a book, correct?
Yeah, no, thank you, Mark. And so this is what happened. So I'm going to give people the Reader's Digest version. How we got started real quickly was we wrote chapters in book, which is known as an anthology or co-authorship. So, for example, The Handbook to Entrepreneur, How to Win in Any Market, a joint venture by 21 leading experts. I am in here with doctors, entrepreneurs, millionaires from all over the world, right? So I got chosen to be in this book. I paid lots of money to be in this book, and that got me exposure and it helped my brand. So that's why I did it. But I did it as several other books, right? Jose and I are in these books, and I'm getting to a point with this. These are called anthologies, co-authorships. Jose and I are in these. What happens is you get into these books and then they nickel and dime you, okay? Not every book there, but I found out that, oh, well, you come in for this price, but then if this is going to cost you, editing is going to cost you extra, all this. And that's when we started to call out the network. We said, you know what? We want to really don't want people to experience that. Let's just charge whatever, 5K, 10K, whatever these prices are, right? Whatever it is, 2K, 3. We charge and everything is included. Pretty much everything is included if someone has an interest to write their book. Now, the ghostwriting, full disclosure, that's always extra because when a ghostwriter means pretty much somebody else is going to write it for you, even though it is your voice and your tone. But for the most part, if you have someone who can write decent, we'll help you out. So does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah.
That's what we do.
Yeah, well, I think that's important, Jose, because I think everybody has a book in them, believe it or not. I told you this analogy before that, I take it to that of preparing for a 5-minute fight in a ring, right? And the amount of hours and lifetime that you go through for that 1 minute, that 5 minutes of life. And then all of a sudden, when you look back on life, your life is a 5-minute round. That's how fast it went by, right? And I'd heard that analogy through, believe it or not, a rodeo, right? They talked about life being like an 8-second. It takes you a lifetime to get to those 8 seconds, and then those 8 seconds are a lifetime, right? And that was the analogy I heard, and I was like, same thing in the fight, right?
Amen.
And I said, how do you have something of all this stuff? Because when you're in the middle of it, and you have a lot of authors now, I don't know if this is true for them or not true. When you guys have experienced a lot of people that have these stories, right? And then you come up and you have all this life behind you, and you're like, how do you put it down? How do you look back? When you're in the fight, you don't look on the outside of what you built because you're inside fighting and grinding. And then when you step outside and you say, oh, man, this is what I've built. My team and I have built this. And how do we share it, right? And because I think of several people, if you go back and listen to my last podcast with Ryan Davis, he's an Army Ranger, three amputee. I don't know if you heard his podcast or not. I'm telling you, you need to go listen to it.
You mentioned it.
Okay, yeah, his Ryan Davis. I am telling you, if there's anybody that has a book in him, and he's gifted as far as his speaking goes, he's personable and he's like just, I don't know, man. You got 3 limbs. You got the shit blown up out of you, and we're in there on the ground with you, teaching you how to do jiu-jitsu, and it's helping you develop muscles to help you as an amputee. And then to talk to him about being a warrior, a vet. Now, listen, this is where my heart is for these guys, right? Because I was in this boat when I had blood clots, and then I almost died, and then I'm like, I lose my warriorship because I can't spar anymore. I can't fight with the gloves on. But jiu-jitsu comes along, and it allowed me a purpose again, right? And these are books, man. This is life, man.
Yeah.
And it's not just this thing. I think that Ryan has this great book. My guy out there that owns a school, Carson Fortner, this guy is a autistic kid whisperer. He is so gifted with those disadvantaged kids and what he does, his heart and how he is, that he's got his own little thing called Special Kicks. And I believe Special Kicks can be nothing but what we done for kids with cerebral palsy or whatever, and to see them in a martial arts realm where they are so happy, and you got everybody around you bitching and moaning why they can't train. You got a kid giving everything he has to try and get into a wheelchair by himself, or we're holding dead weight where they're putting one foot, or we strap them to our own feet and we walk with them. The empowerment of it, what kind of book? Come on, you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got.
And so, this is these are probably the stories you guys hear on a daily, right? Of what people's lives are.
Yeah,
and
you know what? Oh my God, thank you for sharing. I definitely would love to connect with Ryan. I mean, it sounds great, and Here's what it sounds like to me. Spiritual Fitness Survivor: How to Turn Your Struggles into Strength. So this is our book where people write a story at 1,500 words and they share their story. And then this is typically the first step. If somebody's scared to write a book, 1,500 words, we can help you do that. Then they take these 1,500 words in a chapter along with others. This particular one has 22 others. And then once they feel the success and they go, oh my God, people are reading my story, then they go on and they do what you're doing. You went right to it. But typically that's how people do it. You're writing your own book.
Yes, that's interesting. We hadn't. I didn't really realize that the spiritual fitness survivor is a way to have, which is awesome, right? To have all these little stories into one book. It's kind of like what's that called for the soul?
Chicken soup
For the soul, right?
Canfield.
Right. Same type of idea, I guess, is that I hadn't thought about it, but I just feel, and once I do things and I kind of ready to push forward, I want people to know that one of the reasons I had you guys on is just because I know, first of all, I know you're a real couple, right? You're a real. You got, there's going to be marriage struggles, there's going to be business struggles, and then you make it work no matter what, right? Right? Just like I said, you put your goal ahead of your mood by the end of the day, right?
I use it and quote you.
I like
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. And so I think the same thing when this book thing comes along, and I believe this, and you guys will end with this, and now I'm going to have each of you, kind of give your thought on it. But in life, we get coaches for everything, right? If you really want to excel into your field, you need a good coach that's going to be by your side. So if you're playing baseball, you want to bat better, you get yourself a batting coach. Unfortunately, in our world, I think we never had a financial coach as young people. They didn't teach us that in school, right? They taught us, lessons on the mat or on the field, but they didn't really have a financial coach, which I really wish I had when I was 17 years old, because I would be a multimillionaire today if I had a financial coach. Can you imagine the little spoon feeding like you're talking about right here? Hey, man, just put $75 a month away at 18.
Yeah.
See what happens when you're 60, right? And watch how compound interest works for you, not against you. It works against you on credit cards.
Yeah.
It works for you in investments, right? And so never learned that, never had a coach. So to write a book, I mean, I think it's so overwhelming that people are like, where do I start? Because it already messes my brain up, right? It fries my brain. I don't even I lay in bed at night going, okay, which direction do I go, for crying out loud? Do I talk about your death? And that's what we talk about, and the lessons I've learned. Or do I talk about ego, where I was just a dickhead and, and my ego overtook my bearings? Where do I start? And I think that's what I wanted to talk about, you guys, on how you guys coach. If there's women out there, Daniela, that you feel have a story and what that looks like, and that, it's trust me, I made an investment with you guys 100%. And it was a thought process. After my first one, I said, this is hiring a coach, and I'm going to hire this coach. And to say that one day that I'm going to be by January, the book will be best-selling, is what we're going for, a best-selling book. And you have the formula to make it work.
Yep.
Can you put a price tag on that investment? No, because it's like a black belt. When you invest to get your black belt, the simple fact that you put a black belt around your waist, you will put that on every resume and college application that you have ever done, because it intrigues people. What do you mean you're a black belt? Because they think about two things. Either A, you're super well disciplined, or you can kick someone's ass. I mean, that's what people think, right?
Right.
And they coincide with each other. They're like, you went through the thing to get a black belt? And so that's what I feel this is the same thing like. I mean, how do you put a price tag on it when I get to say up and say, hey, and then I get to talk about my coach, right? That's the whole thing. It's like a martial arts school, right? Hey, these are my coaches, man. This is power couple over here. You hook up, you do what you're going to do, and see how it goes. You know what I mean? So why don't you guys decide on give the last kind of minute to you guys on what your thought process is on that.
And thank you. And I want to just say, I want Danielle to comment on this. Everything you've added about the value, but look what happened, the legacy part. And I'm a little touched because tell us what happened to this author right here.
Uh, yeah, Jessica Bustamante. We met her through another mutual friend, and she had an amazing story. She had, I believe, 7 or 8 different kinds of cancer. And 8 years prior, the doctor had told her, she had like months to live. So she stopped all traditional treatment, everything, and did all the, like, went totally holistic. And, you know, at the time we met her, it was already 8 years. She was, she had her book. She had another book out, Cancer Void, which we have. And then she joined us in the third edition of Spiritual Fitness Survivor and shared her story in that and went bestseller. She was always, on podcasts and sharing her message. She was just a beautiful person. And then, cancer came back. I want to say, God, it's probably 3 or 4 months ago now. And unfortunately, like, she tried the holistic thing again. She even tried traditional treatment again because she's just like, I have to give it a shot. But she passed away. And it was just so heartbreaking to lose like somebody like that we were so close to, but you know what? She left a legacy. That's the important thing. Like Mark started off with, I want to leave a legacy for my kids. If you don't share your story, somebody else will, and it will not be the way you would tell it. So there's never a right time. We have people that say, I'm not ready right now. Maybe next year. Maybe next year you're not going to be here,
Mm-hmm.
And I've already experienced from my, real quickly, what happened to me many years ago. I've heard, somebody came to me actually in the family not too long ago and said, Daniela, I heard this, this, this. I said, really? Well, let me tell you the truth. You know, had I not shared my story and not been there, you know what I mean? And it's not so much like we're going to care what other people think, but you know what? When it is our story and facts and what we want people to know about us and how, I want my grandson to grow up and be like, hey, read my book and say, wow, my grandma was a strong woman.
Yeah. Great. Emilio, what you got to end with that?
Yeah,
You
brother.
think?
Just I co-sign everything my wife said, and I thank you for this opportunity, Mark, to really share this. And again, if you're not sharing your story, somebody else will. It's kind of like whisper down the lane, right? And then all of a sudden, we do this in our groups real quickly. We'll get 4 or 5 people, and just to prove the point about why you should have your story, I'll say Emilio likes hot dog with lots of relish. By the time it comes back, Emilio's a vegan. You know,
Right.
I mean, so
Yeah.
honestly, you got to share your story, Mark, and I'm so proud of you. And we're going to do
Yes.
right by you. And so thank you for trusting us. That's how I want to end this. Thank you for trusting us,
Yeah.
and
Thank
you're
you,
going to
Mark.
be so surprised.
Yeah, it's good. So this has been, and we went a little bit over an hour. Hope you don't mind. Hope I didn't infringe on your time. But I wanted, this is important. I wanted to get some fun stuff out of the way and some real life stuff, but bring it back home to what you guys really do and to help people bring their stories to life. I mean, I'm not going to lie, man. It's pretty stoked when you see a book cover going, wow, this thing is starting to happen. And we've had some back and forth. I'm like, bro, man, I said, do I have an ego? Why should I put a picture of myself like this, man? And, cause it kind of weighs on me. I'm like, man, I don't want to be some egotistical dick. You know what I mean? I'm just not, it's not in my, I don't want that. And then being coached through you and the other people that you have working in the network, it was, definitely, I can start feeling that it's starting to be real now. You know what I mean? So
Mark, and we
that,
love
hey,
your
man,
book cover, man.
Oh,
You
yeah.
can you tell people your book? Go
The
for it,
title?
man. Love it.
yeah. Well, I've started telling everybody that Beyond the Mat is what I've done.
Woo!
I've talked about this for a long time, taking what you learn on the mat, because the mat is a weird thing, man. It does not give rat's ass about your color, creed, religion, sexual orientation, or nothing. It does not lie. It does not care about your feelings. It is the mat. But what it will do, it will reveal your character real quick. And so either you got good character or you got stuff to polish up on, and the mat doesn't lie. And once you get it out there, you take these lessons learned and you apply it to life outside. That is beyond the mat, and there is a life beyond the mat. If you can take what you learn in martial arts and put it on the outside and then become a warrior I said this last time, a warrior is one that builds a more peaceful world, and they start by changing themselves, and that's how they change the world, is one at a time. And I thought, and then I find a coach that's going to take me where I want to get. You know what I mean? And so
Absolutely.
and not to mention, I get to go to Philadelphia because I don't know if you guys know this about me. Rocky is my go. I must have seen it thousands of times.
Yep.
Okay. I saw it in a drive-in theater when it first came out. I remember it like it was yesterday, very first Rocky. And Rocky, the original Rocky and Rocky Balboa, those are my two favorites out of the series,
Yeah.
is the original Rocky. Even on an airplane, Rocky plays a lot on the old movies on airplanes. I watch it every single time. It's just one of those things that's just a grit,
Classic.
nothing, and to what he is. And so to go to Philadelphia when I get out there for this book thing, I can't wait to do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking forward to what that is. So I appreciate the coaching and stuff like that. I will, guys, just so you know, anybody else that's listening right now, or if you're going to be on the podcast, I will have the audio version of this, guys, for you guys a little bit later today. It'll be a link. You'll be on my website and the audio podcast, so people can just go click on it, whether they listen in Spotify, Apple. I'm on all the podcasting platforms. They can go and subscribe if they want. But there'll be a link for you, and anybody can just kind of listen to your podcast. You guys will be able to share that wherever. Listen to the stories that we talked about today, or then come back and look at the video too on YouTube if that's how people like to look at things. But I started as an audio podcaster. It's what I really like because I listen to audio podcasts so much. I listen to a lot of people, and I enjoy them when I'm driving. And so that'll be out there. You guys do keep seeing this buymeacoffee.com. Listen, that's how you can support this show. I don't really do a lot of advertising per se yet. As I'm just kind of bringing material to everybody. So this is a way that if you guys want to support a little bit, or we can keep up with the equipment and stuff like that, because it is an expense. Websites are expense and everything else. So that's how we do it. Power couple, Daniela and Emilio. I'm looking forward to spending some time face-to-face a little bit with you guys once I get out there. Yeah. If I can make it happen before that January, I'm going to do it. I travel to Georgia next month, and I'm kind of playing with the idea of trying to come out there before we do it. I want to see, I kind of like having the lay of the land, and I like to look around and see all that kind of stuff. Maybe I'll bring one of my children with me, or Kat will come with me, one of the two. And we'll come out and visit you guys. Sound good?
We will rearrange our schedule for you. We'll rearrange our schedule for you if you come down, and we can even do Rocky together.
Rocky steps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We'll take you over to Philly, brother. And before I forget, only we never mentioned it, the Co-Author Network info@gmail.com. If anyone wants to get a hold of us, again, Co-Author Network info@gmail.com. Thanks.
Yeah, so what we'll do, as a matter of fact, Daniela, while you're sitting, I don't know if you're on your phone or whatever, post that in the comment real quick before we end, okay? And so it's on there all the time on the posting on the podcast. I will have this, guys. I kind of made the bio a little bit more extensive. On my website, though, will be your co-author stuff too for everybody if they want to get a hold of you and how to do that. And anybody that's listening, if you're looking for a coach to kind of take you to the next level on what it looks like to write a book, I would encourage you to have the virtual coffee chat and make those decisions for yourself. And then I'm always available for any kind of feedback that people want to know with me working with you guys. Sound good?
Awesome. Amen, Mark.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, Mark.
I appreciate it, guys. We'll end this broadcast. Have an awesome day.